What's up, guys? Welcome to Whiskey. My name's Jeff. Now, this is usually a channel where I'll review a whiskey, but today we have something of a special episode. I'm going to be talking about my whiskey of the year for 2021. Stick around. All right, this is the big one. This is the obligatory end of year video for us whiskey tubers. This is where we give you our top pick of the year, the whiskey that we want to recommend to you more than anything else. And it can be a pretty big deal for some of the bigger channels that actually translates into much better sales for the brand. And despite the fact that I'm still a tiny channel, I do want to shine a spotlight on this whiskey. It's a somewhat obscure whiskey. It's nothing like too weird or too fringe, but it's not a mainstream staple. And I think my pick is going to surprise some of you guys. I'll explain why in a minute. Now, I didn't have too many rules coming into this, or nothing too rigid anyway, but I didn't want to recommend a bottle that's going to cost you guys like, hundreds of dollars, hundreds of pounds. So I did consider value, I did consider price, and when you factor those in, I do think this is the best whiskey I had this year. It just makes more sense to recommend something that's affordable that you guys are going to be able to get your hands on. Obviously, you want a high quality whiskey, and you want something that's got character. You don't want something too like boring or generic. Now, craft presented is not like a formal requirement, although any whiskey of the year that I'm likely to choose, probably going to have 46% non-chill filtered natural color. And this is kind of an interesting case because my channel's first whiskey of the year actually came about because of the channel, more specifically because of the viewers. This bottle was recommended to me by you guys this year. I actually had a friend who tried this one previously, and I guess he wasn't the biggest fan of this stuff, but took a few comments from you guys, a couple direct messages. Finally, I decided to pull the trigger for myself, and obviously I'm really glad I did. And it wasn't a eureka moment. I didn't fall in love with this stuff the moment I popped it. This whiskey has some unpretty elements. There's some rugged elements in here. There are some sharp edges to it. And yeah, I found it a little bit too sharp and aggressive when I first popped it. But as I spent time with the bottle, I started to warm up to it a little bit more, and that's about the time that I shot my first review of this one. My review video gave this one, I believe, something like 86 for score, which is entirely too low. I've had 2 bottles of this since then. Obviously, I love it. I keep coming back to it. I'd land somewhere closer to 89 at this point. Anyway, yeah, again, this whiskey is slightly unpretty, so if you do pick up a bottle, I would urge you to spend some time with it. My appreciation for this whiskey came on very gradually. It does need some time to open up, but obviously now I'm at the point where I'm happy to call it my whiskey of the year. I'm happy to put my name behind it, but it's not an easy whiskey. Anyway, I'm not going to sit here blabbering for like 10 minutes, talking it up. Let's just jump to the big reveal, shall we? So, my whiskey of the year is Craigellachie 13. I'm telling you guys, I can't get enough of this stuff. It's extremely affordable, it's extremely drinkable, it's very moreish. My bottles do not last long, and it's got that trifecta of factors that I love. The first and definitely most important factor is that this is a delicious, high quality, craft presented whiskey, which of course is always a good thing. The second is that it's affordable. This bottle does not cost too much. And the third is that it's very high reachability. It's a whiskey that I keep coming back to. I keep buying more bottles of this stuff, and because it's affordable, I feel pretty guilt-free about it. Also, I feel like this is a whiskey for whiskey drinkers. I don't think it's a beginner's whiskey, and that's not me gatekeeping. If you're a beginner, try this one out. You might love it. I don't know. Oppositely, someone who's got a lot of experience under the belt might hate this stuff. I mean, you never know what people are going to like. But speaking broadly, I think some beginners might have some trouble with it. Again, it's not necessarily a pretty whiskey. We do have some of those rugged elements, those sharp elements. It's not always smooth. This is a whiskey with a lot of character. And I should probably leave it at that, because if I talk about it like this too much, I'm going to make it sound like this totally wild cowboy style whiskey, and it's not that. There are some accessible elements in here, as well as some more challenging ones. Anyway, I think my pick might have surprised some of you. Every time I make a list or every time I discuss my preferences, I'm always rattling on about sherry. This is not a sherried whiskey, and it's not even a particularly complex or sophisticated whiskey either. But as I've discussed before, I don't think that complexity makes a whiskey better. It can be and often is a sign of quality, but it's not a prerequisite for quality. Obviously, quality is a subjective label anyway. When I talk about quality, I think the first thing that I look for is a good character. And I love this character. The more time I spend with this whiskey, the more that character continues to grow on me. It's an excellent pour. It's very straightforward. It can be a little bit aggressive, but in a good way. It's got a great profile that's unique without ever being like weird or off-putting. And that's it. That's all I have to say. Obviously, I fully recommend this whiskey to those of you out there with a bit of experience under your belt, and even those who are just getting started. You know what? Try it out, see where you land on it. All I ask is that you give it some time, some patience, let it open up, let yourself become acquainted with the character. So congratulations to Craig Alecky for being GWhiskey's Whiskey of the Year. You can expect your sales to increase threefold. Sorry, not threefold, three. 3 bottles. 3 bottles more. Maybe 2. You're welcome.